I'm not sure when it started, but there's a man, always in the background, always just out of focus, like a shadow that insists on existing even when it shouldn't. I first noticed him last week while scrolling through the photos from my trip to the park. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, or maybe someone in the distance I hadn't noticed. But then I looked closer. He was there, standing behind the ice cream stand, his face. Well, I couldn't really make out the details, but his eyes, there was something in his eyes that made your stomach flip. I've never seen him before, never talked to him, never even knew his name. And yet, there he was, in a photo I had taken for no reason other than to capture my friend's laughing dot. I showed the photo to my roommate. "It's just some random guy in the background," she said, scrolling past without even blinking. But that didn't make it any easier to ignore, because the longer I stared at that blurry shape, the more certain I became he wasn't random. I've noticed him in every photo I've taken for months, and nobody else seems to see him. I started asking myself questions I didn't want answers to. Have you ever taken a photo and wondered if someone was already watching you? At first, it felt absurd, like some ridiculous paranoid fantasy you dismiss after a second. But the thing is, I can't dismiss it. He shows up everywhere: the coffee shop, the library, the dimly lit street corner where I sometimes go at night just to be alone. And the worst part? He doesn't move. Not really. He's always standing there, like a permanent fixture in the frame, waiting for me to notice. I guess I just have a face for being haunted. Dark humor is all I've got left, and even that feels cheap when you're staring at a photograph that refuses to let you forget. Every time I scroll past him, I get this knot in my chest, a subtle, creeping panic that tightens just enough to make my hands shake when I reach for my camera again. And that's exactly what I did. I had to know. I opened my old photo folders, the ones from months ago, before the park trip, when life felt normal, when people actually laughed at my jokes without me noticing a stranger lurking somewhere behind them. At first, nothing seemed out of place, but then I found it a photo from my birthday party last year. My friends cheering, cake flying, confetti everywhere. And there he was, standing by the doorway, half hidden in shadows, just staring. I froze. Nobody else in the room seemed to notice him. Nobody commented. And the more I looked, the more I realized this wasn't a single coincidence. Every photo I could find, every single one, he was there. A constant, quiet observer, always there but always just out of reach, like some glitch in reality itself. And I couldn't help but feel it was only a matter of time before he decided to step out of the frame. I don't know who he is. I don't know why he's in my life or if he even counts as alive in the way the rest of us do. But I do know this: I can't stop looking, and I can't stop taking pictures. Because maybe, just maybe, if I keep watching him, I'll figure out what he wants, or he'll figure out that I've noticed. And when that happens, I'm not sure either of us will walk away unchanged. So here I am, telling you this. Maybe as a warning. Maybe as a confession. Maybe because if someone else notices, I won't feel completely insane. Have you ever felt the eyes of a stranger in your photos, even when no one else sees them? I hope you never do, but if you do, I'm already one step ahead of you. I spent the next few nights diving into old photos like some deranged detective, scrolling through my phone and external drives, looking for anything that would confirm I wasn't losing my mind. The more I looked, the more it became undeniable. he was there. Always there. And not just lurking in the corners. Either sometimes he was closer than I realized. There was a picture from last summer. A barbecue in the backyard. My friends were laughing. Burgers in hand, sunlight bouncing off the grill. I had snapped a photo to capture the moment. At first, it seemed normal. Then I saw him, standing behind the hedge, his shape partially obscured by the greenery. No expression, no gesture, just standing. And the longer I stared, the more obvious it became that he wasn't blending in. He was waiting. I showed it to my sister. "Hey, do you see that guy in the back?" I pointed at the blurry figure. She squinted. "It's just a neighbor or someone walking by. Chill, you're reading into it." She laughed, tossing her phone onto the couch. I forced a smile, but my stomach dropped. She didn't see it. Nobody saw it. And that only made it worse. A week later, I looked at photos from a hiking trip. At first, they were all exactly what you'd expect. Friends posing by waterfalls, blurry panoramas of trees and rocks, me awkwardly holding the camera like always. But then, he appeared again. This time, a little closer, behind the rocks, his outline more distinct. I swear his head tilted toward me, as if he knew I was watching. I froze. Dark humor wouldn't save me this time. I wanted to laugh at how ridiculous this was. But the laugh got stuck somewhere between my throat and my chest. I tried to rationalize it, of course. Maybe my mind was filling in gaps, a trick of light and shadow. Maybe I was just paranoid. But the thing is, he kept showing up. Every birthday, every night out, even in photos I didn't remember taking. And sometimes, the appearances were subtle, just a shadow on the wall. A blurred reflection in a window, but unmistakable if you knew what to look for. I remember sending one of the images to my friend Mark. "Do you see him? The guy in the corner?" I typed, a little desperate. There was a long pause before he replied. "Dude, I see nothing. Are you seriously messing with me?" I wanted to scream. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't making it up. And yet, in their eyes I was just a prankster, or worse, crazy. The strangest part was how normal everything else looked. My friends smiling, the sun hitting our faces perfectly, the mundane joy of ordinary life. And in the middle of it, this impossible, quiet menace. The contrast made my stomach churn. How can something so casual, so ordinary, coexist with something so wrong? By the time I looked at photos from a week ago, I was starting to see patterns. He appeared mostly behind me, always slightly out of focus, almost like a watermark. Sometimes, though, he was closer. A reflection in the glass of a cafe window, an impossibly symmetrical shadow stretching across the floor. Each photo escalated my dread a little more. It was like he was learning, practicing, drawing closer. I couldn't stop. Every time I put my phone down, I felt that same knot in my chest. Every time I glanced at a photo, there he was, staring at nothing, staring at me. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a horrifying thought took root. I can't be the only one noticing this, right? Someone else has to see him. Someone else has to understand that he isn't just a stranger in the background. Then I found it. A photo from just the other night, taken on a whim, trying to test myself. I aimed my camera at the street outside my window. I thought maybe I could catch him in the act. And there he was. But closer. Much closer than before. Not behind a hedge, not in a distant shadow. Right across the street, leaning against my neighbor's car, his eyes fixed on my window. I froze. I couldn't move. And for the first time, I realized he didn't belong there. That spot, that exact position, should have been impossible. And yet, there he was. I don't know how long I stared. Seconds? Minutes? Hours? Time didn't matter anymore. The line between normalcy and horror had blurred, and I was standing smack in the middle of it, staring back at something I wasn't supposed to see. Patterns started to form before I even realized I was looking for them. At first, it was just repetition, the same man, same stance, same indifferent expression. But soon I began noticing the details that tied it all together. He didn't just appear anywhere. He appeared when I was happy. Birthdays, get-togethers, those rare moments when I forgot to feel anxious about everything else. It was almost as if he was drawn to joy, or maybe mocking it. I charted it out on my wall. Every photo printed and pinned with red string, like something out of a crime drama. Yeah, I know how that sounds. But it made sense. The timestamps lined up with specific times. 3:03 p.m., 10:10 p.m., 12:12 Amazawan, always repeating numbers, mirrored symmetry. That wasn't random. Nothing about this was random. The more I studied him, the more wrong it all felt. His clothes never changed, not once. Same dark coat, same shadow over his face, even across years of photos. I found one from a concert in 2019. He was there. Same as always. My first thought was, that's impossible. My second thought was, what if it isn't? I started thinking about rules. Everything unnatural seems to have them. Maybe he's bound by time, or emotion, or perspective. Maybe he can only appear when I'm not looking directly at him. It sounds crazy, but the evidence was stacking up, photo by photo. When I laughed, he was closer. When I cried, he was gone. As if emotion was his compass. I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a glitch. A coincidence, something my tired brain is manufacturing. But that's what I thought too, until I found the reflection shots. In one of them, my friend was taking a selfie in my living room. Behind her, in the mirror, he was standing facing the camera. Only the angle was wrong. If he were really behind her, he should have been facing away. The reflection was inverted, but he wasn't. He was watching through it. That's when I started feeling it. A constant hum under the surface of normal life, like static in my head every time I smiled. It's subtle, you don't notice it until you start looking for it. But once you do, it's everywhere. Every shadow, every flicker in the corner of your vision. I know this is going to sound insane, but if you've got your phone near you, do something for me. Scroll through your last few photos, just humor me. Look closely. Really look. You might not see anything at first, but maybe there's a shape, or a face, or someone who doesn't belong. Maybe he's been practicing on you too. I started noticing the correlation. He never appeared in photos I didn't take. If someone else snapped it, he wasn't there. Which means whatever this is, it's personal. Like he's tied to my lens, my perspective. I guess that's what terrifies me most. If the camera is his doorway, then every photo is an invitation. It became a compulsion after that. I couldn't stop photographing things, trying to catch him breaking the pattern, slipping up somehow. Every flash, every click of the shutter felt like a heartbeat in reverse proof that I was still seeing something I shouldn't. I needed to know if it was just coincidence. or if the act of taking the photo itself was calling him closer. So I made a decision. I was going to test it. I was going to take pictures deliberately, one after another, until I understood the rules. I wish I could say I hesitated. But curiosity, especially the kind laced with fear, is stronger than self-preservation. And if I'm right about him, then by the time you're hearing this, he already knows I've figured something out. After weeks of tracing patterns and sleepless nights, I decided I couldn't just watch anymore. I needed to see him really see him. Maybe it was obsession, maybe desperation, but either way, I couldn't live inside the guessing anymore. So I started small. I took my camera outside, just after sunset, the sky bleeding orange into blue. People were walking dogs. Cars hung down the street. Life felt painfully ordinary. But I could feel him, that quiet gravity pulling at the edges of my vision. I lifted the camera and snapped a photo of the horizon. When I checked the screen, my heart dropped. There he was. Not far away, this time standing across the street again, half illuminated by the fading light. I swear he was facing me. No blur, no ambiguity. Just a man watching. I looked up instantly, expecting to see him there in real life. But the space was empty. Completely, impossibly empty. I tried to laugh it off, but it came out as a dry cough. "You're losing it," I muttered to myself, seeing ghosts in pixels. Still, I couldn't stop. I started walking, snapping random photos as I went. Street corners, parked cars, the reflection of the sunset in a puddle. In every single shot, he appeared. Sometimes in mirrors, sometimes as a faint shadow that didn't match the light. And once, God help me, he was standing right behind me. That one I didn't even notice until I got home. When I saw it, I dropped my phone. The sound echoed through the apartment like a gunshot. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. His face was closer than ever before, over my shoulder, half smiling. Not in a human way, too still, too symmetrical. Like he was posing for me. I called Mark. He answered on the faddy third ring. "You sound like crap," he said. "I need you to come over," I whispered. "Now, there's someone I need you to see." He sighed. "Man, not this again. You're freaking yourself out." "I have proof this time," I said. My voice cracked. "Just, please." He hung up after saying he'd be there soon. I paced the living room, staring at the phone like it might burst into flames. The silence between each tick of the clock felt like a countdown. Then, a buzz. New message. Not from Mark. Unknown number. Nice photo. I froze. My heart stopped, just for a second. The message had no name, no profile image. I opened it. The next one came in immediately. "You're getting better at finding me." I deleted the thread before I could think, my breath catching in my throat. My phone vibrated again, same number. "Don't stop now." That's when I realized something. He wasn't just appearing in the photos. He was watching me through them. Each picture felt heavier in my hand, like evidence of a crime I couldn't prove. When Mark arrived, I shoved the phone into his face. Look at this." The messages, the photos, tell me I'm not crazy." He frowned, scrolling. "There's nothing here," he said finally, eyes meeting mine. "No texts. Just your photos. Dude, you need to sleep." I wanted to argue, but when he handed the phone back, the messages were gone. Erased completely. That night I left the lights on. Every creak in the floor, every whisper of wind against the window felt like a warning. Still, I couldn't stop myself. I picked up the camera again. It was almost midnight. I pointed it at the mirror on my wall and took one picture, just one. When I looked at the screen, I nearly dropped it. The photo wasn't of me. It was of my living room, empty, with the curtains drawn and the lights off. And in the reflection of the dark glass behind where I should have been, I could see him standing exactly where I was, holding a camera too. Only his lens was pointed straight at me. Sleep stopped meaning anything after that night. I'd lie awake, every muscle in my body tight, waiting for the click of the camera shutter that never came. I stopped going out. I stopped answering texts. My friends kept messaging at first, Mark, my sister, even my boss. But after a while, they gave up. The last thing my sister said was, "You need help. This isn't healthy." Maybe she's right. Maybe none of this is. But what if she's wrong? What if I'm the only one seeing what's really happening? The photos won't stop. That's the part nobody understands. Even when I don't take them, new ones appear. On my phone, on my laptop, even printed out in places I swear I didn't leave them. I'll wake up to find one sitting on my nightstand fresh, glossy, the ink still warm. Each one worse than the last. In every photo, the stranger is closer. Sometimes I swear I can see motion blur, like he's reaching toward the lens. I've tried everything, deleting apps, smashing the camera lens, even throwing my phone into the trash. But somehow, it always finds its way back. I'll turn around and it'll be sitting on my desk again, screen lit, camera open. I used to laugh at horror movies where people didn't just leave. Now I get it. You can't run from something that's already inside every reflection. The isolation has done something to me. Time feels warped. I catch myself talking out loud to the empty room. Once, I caught my reflection whispering something I didn't say. I wish I was kidding. I've started noticing things outside too. A van parked across the street for 3 days straight. A man in a hoodie walking past the same window at the exact same time each night. I tell myself it's paranoia, but deep down I know it's connected. The stranger isn't just some ghost in my photos. There's something organized about it. A system. Last night, I found something online, an old forum thread from 2013, titled, "The Man Behind the Lens." It was buried deep, the kind of site you only find by accident. People were sharing stories almost identical to mine, a figure appearing in every photo, unseen by anyone else. One post stood out. A user named Retina Burn wrote, "He shows up when you try to document your life. That's how he learns you." The post ended abruptly, mid-sentence. No replies. I scrolled through the comments, heart pounding. Some were jokes, others terrified. A few users claimed to have seen him too, though each described him differently, different faces, clothes, heights, but always the same feeling. Like he was studying them through their own eyes. That's when I realized something. Maybe it isn't just one man. Maybe it's a pattern. A template. Something that moves between us, wearing whatever shape we're willing to accept. Mark called again today. I didn't answer. What could I even say? That my camera's haunted? That I'm losing my mind but documenting it anyway? He'd just sigh, tell me to go outside, touch grass. Like that would fix the static in my head. So instead, I took another picture. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. The compulsion is unbearable. It's like holding your breath underwater. Eventually, your body takes over. I aimed the lens at the window. My hands were trembling so hard I could barely focus. Flash, the image loaded. He was standing inside the room this time. Behind me, I turned slowly, but there was no one there. Just silence. Just the faint smell of something like dust and electricity. And then my phone buzzed a new notification. It wasn't from anyone I knew. The username just said, "Retina burn. Stop taking photos. You're feeding him." I stared at the message, my skin crawling. The account was gone before I could click it, like it had never existed. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about me anymore. The message from Retina burn replayed in my head like a broken alarm. Stop taking photos. You're feeding him. Feeding him? How? With attention? With fear? It didn't make sense. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it explained everything. Every photo wasn't just capturing him, it was inviting him. Each shutter click was an offering, and I'd been feeding him for months. I tried to stop, I really did. I powered off my phone, deleted every app, and locked the camera in a drawer. For a few days, the silence felt like recovery. I even started to believe the nightmare had burned itself out. But it was a lie. On the fourth morning, I woke up to find new photos waiting in my gallery. I hadn't touched my phone. I hadn't even dreamed of taking them. And yet, there they were, shots of my apartment taken from impossible angles. Some from behind me while I slept. The stranger was in every one of them. But now he wasn't just standing still. He was moving. His head tilted slightly in one, his hand raised in another, and in the last photo, his mouth was open. I stared at those pictures until the edges of my vision started to pulse. There was something about his mouth. The pixels were wrong, too dark, too sharp. I zoomed in, expecting blur, but instead I saw letters. Tiny, almost microscopic strings of text embedded in the darkness of his lips. I screenshotted it, enhanced the contrast, and the words began to take shape. "We watch you watching." I dropped the phone so fast it hit the floor and cracked the screen. For a few seconds, all I could hear was the hum of the refrigerator and my own pulse in my ears. I wanted to throw up. But beneath the panic, there was something else, a question. Who's we? That night I dug deeper into the forum. It wasn't gone like I'd thought, it had moved. The posts had new timestamps, recent ones. The same usernames I'd seen before were active again, posting cryptic photos, screenshots of texts, grainy images with that same dark figure lurking in them. One user, Glass Eye, uploaded a photo that stopped me cold. A man standing in the corner of a hospital corridor. Identical coat, same dead stillness. The caption read, "He found me again." I thought deleting everything would help. I commented under the post, asking if they'd seen the message about feeding him. No reply. When I checked back an hour later, the post was gone. So was the user. I started getting voicemails after that. Each one was a few seconds of silence, followed by the faint click of a camera shutter. I stopped answering unknown numbers, but they kept coming. Always at 3:03 a.m., that repeating number again. By the fifth call, I broke. "What do you want from me?" I screamed into the phone. "Just say it." For the first time, a voice answered. Calm, soft, almost disappointed. "You already gave it. Then the line went dead. I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk with the cracked phone and the open forum page, staring at the faint glow of the monitor. That's when I noticed something new, a notification from an admin account I'd never seen before. The username was a string of random characters, but the message was simple. You're not documenting him. He's documenting you. My stomach turned. I looked around the room, my reflection trembling in the window glass. There was nothing there, and yet, I could feel it. That same static hum, louder now, like electricity in my teeth. I thought about every photo I'd ever taken, the laughs, the trips, the little attempts to prove I existed, and I wondered if I'd been recording my own erasure piece by piece. Here's the part that still makes no sense. I tried looking at other people's photos online, scrolling through random Instagram accounts, even old travel blogs. And in some of them, buried deep in the backgrounds, I saw him. Not always obvious, but unmistakable once you knew what to look for. Same posture, same coat, same stillness. He wasn't mine. He was ours. You've probably seen him too. Maybe not consciously, but he's there in the corner of a group shot. A reflection in glass, a figure behind a crowd at sunset. That's the trick. He hides in plain sight. And the second you notice him, that's when he finds his way in. I know how this sounds. You're probably thinking this is one of those viral creepypasta stories people make up for clicks. But before you laugh it off, do something for me. Open your gallery. Look at your last 5 photos. Go ahead, I'll wait. See if anyone's standing just a little too still in the background. Because if he's there, well, it's too late. After that realization, I couldn't sit still. I started printing every image I'd ever taken, spreading them across my floor like puzzle pieces. There had to be a clue, a pattern I'd missed. Somewhere in the chaos, an answer was hiding. I noticed something strange every time he appeared. There was always a reflective surface nearby. Mirrors, water, glass. That's when it hit me. He wasn't showing up in the photos. He was using them, reflections trapped in digital light. That's how he moved. The camera wasn't capturing him. It was opening something for him. I should have stopped there. But I couldn't. I needed proof. Hard, undeniable proof that would make people believe me. So I set up my phone on a tripod facing the mirror, turned off the lights, and waited for midnight. If I could just catch him in the act, maybe I could understand what he wanted. Maybe I could end it. Or maybe, just maybe, I'd finally see what no one else has dared to. Midnight came like a shiver sliding down my spine. I was alone in the apartment, the tripod holding my phone aimed directly at the bedroom mirror. Every shadow looked like it had weight. Every sound, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the floorboards, felt amplified, like it was mocking me. I sat cross-legged on the floor, staring at the screen, telling myself I was about to see proof. Proof. I repeated it like a mantra because I needed to believe in something stable. Something tangible. Then the flash went off. Not the camera flash, the shutter on the phone. I froze. Nothing moved. Nothing shifted. Nothing except a shape in the mirror. My stomach dropped as my own reflection twisted, impossibly stretched toward the opposite corner. And there he was, closer than ever. No blur, no shadows to excuse him. He stood behind the reflection of my desk chair, just inside the mirror frame. I could see the coat, the tilt of the head, the stillness. And for the first time, he was grinning. Not a friendly smile. Not amusement. Something else. Something waiting. I whispered, almost without thinking, "Why are you here?" The mirror didn't answer. But the phone did. A notification popped up, a new photo saved to the gallery. I picked it up with trembling hands. The photo wasn't from my tripod. It wasn't from anywhere I recognized. It was of me, standing in the corner of the bedroom I'd just been staring at, looking terrified. And behind me in the frame, he was standing right beside the tripod. Impossible. I hadn't moved. I hadn't even looked that way. "Stop. Just stop!" I screamed at the mirror. My voice sounded strange, hollow, echoing in a room that felt bigger than it should. The reflection didn't flinch. It leaned closer, as if curious about my fear. I backed away, tripping over the carpet, and grabbed my phone. Another notification. Another image. This one wasn't of the mirror. It was the living room, taken from a corner I had never photographed, showing him sitting on my couch, legs crossed, head tilted, watching me. I swallowed hard. Dark humor bubbled up. Well, at least he's polite enough to sit down like he belongs here. It was useless. Nothing was funny. The static in the apartment surged. I could feel it buzzing through the walls, through the floorboards, like the building itself was alive, or at least aware. And then he moved. Just slightly. Just a fraction, but enough to make my pulse spike. The tilt of the head became a slow turn toward me. I stumbled backward, heart hammering, bumping into the tripod. The camera wobbled, its lens catching the reflection again, and he was closer. I tried to run, but the room warped around me. The corner where the closet should have been stretched impossibly, elongating, twisting. And in that stretch, I saw him. Multiple versions of him. Standing silently in each impossible angle, staring at me through mirrors, glass, even the darkened window. My mind screamed at the impossibility. This wasn't a person anymore. This was something else. Something that lived in reflections, in digital light, in the act of being watched. "Please, I don't understand." I shouted. My voice cracked. "I don't know what you want." He tilted his head again, and in the mirrored reflection, I swear he winked. I grabbed my bag, stuffing the tripod and phone inside. My hands were shaking so violently, I dropped everything once. I felt the eyes of all the versions of him, every reflection, every photo, every shadow pressing down. Suffocating, I ran. Out the door, down the hallway, into the stairwell. The building felt impossibly long, each step stretching farther than it should. I could hear footsteps behind me, not mine. Not exactly. Heavy, patient, deliberate. I dared not look. Outside, the street should have been empty, quiet. But he was there too, standing under the dim streetlight, just watching. Same coat, same stillness. I froze, my bag slipped from my hands. The phone rolled onto the pavement, screen cracked, but the camera still glowing faintly. A photo saved. I scrambled for it, and my blood ran cold. The image displayed the street behind me, completely empty, except reflected in a puddle at the curb. He was standing directly behind me, closer than physically possible. As if the reflection itself had substance, I ran without looking back. Not stopping until I reached the corner, heart threatening to burst from my chest. The city felt normal again. Cars honked. A dog barked. People passed, oblivious. And yet, I knew he hadn't gone. I don't know how long I stood there, shaking, trying to convince myself it had been a trick of the light, a hallucination born of paranoia. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had crossed a line. I had triggered him. And now, he knew I was aware. The cliffhanger isn't that he's chasing me, at least not yet. The cliffhanger is that I don't know what comes next. I don't know if he waits in shadows, in reflections, in phones, or in mirrors. I don't know if he moves when I move, or if he's already inside the next photo I take. And right now, I can't stop myself from reaching for my phone. Days have passed since that night, though I can't tell if it's been hours or weeks. Life seems normal again. The city hums with its usual rhythm. Friends laugh. Cars move. People live their ordinary lives, completely oblivious. And yet, every time I glance at a reflective surface, a shadow in the corner of my eye, I feel him, watching, waiting, just out of reach. I've stopped taking photos for now, but I can't stop looking at them. I scroll through my old galleries, half expecting to see him in places I missed. Sometimes I swear I do. Just a shape behind a tree, a shadow by the window, something that shouldn't be there. Every subtle movement reminds me that the ordinary world is only skin deep. Beneath it, there's something else. Something patient. Something that learns. I'm sharing this with you not because I've solved anything, but because maybe, just maybe, someone else has seen it too. Have you ever noticed something in your photos that shouldn't be there? Something that watches when no one else is looking? Leave a comment, share a theory, compare notes. Because the truth is, I don't think I'm alone in this. And the longer you ignore it, the closer it might be to noticing you. The thing about him is that he's subtle. He doesn't announce himself with screams or gestures. He's quiet, patient, meticulous. And if you're paying attention, if you're looking for clues, you might catch glimpses. But be careful. The moment you really notice him, that's when he knows you've seen. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if he'll stay in the corners, the reflections, or if he's waiting for me to make the next move. All I know is that ordinary life continues around me, as though nothing has changed. And yet, I can't shake the feeling that the quiet, everyday moments are just a front dot. So, if you're looking at your photos tonight, pay attention. Look closely. Shadows, reflections, shapes that seem out of place, they might be nothing. Or they might be him. And if you see him, well, you'll understand what I mean when I say, life feels normal, but nothing ever really is. I was going through old photos one last time tonight, just to calm my nerves. A stupid ritualistic habit, I know. And that's when I saw it, a single picture I didn't remember taking. It was of my living room, empty, the lights dim. Nothing unusual at first glance. But then I noticed the reflection in the TV screen. There he was, standing behind the couch, head tilted, hands clasped in front of him, watching me, smiling just enough to make it wrong. I spun around, heart hammering, nothing, silence. The apartment was exactly as it should be, yet the photo still existed. I stared at it for what felt like hours, realizing something terrifying. This one had already been taken before I saw it. It was waiting for me. I don't know how many of you will dismiss this as nonsense, but take a moment tonight. Scroll through your gallery. Look at your photos, even the ones you took casually, on a whim, when you weren't paying attention. Look closely. Watch for shadows, reflections, shapes that seem a little off. Maybe you'll see nothing. Maybe you'll see him dot, and if you do, well, congratulations. You've joined the club. Don't get too comfortable. Because just like my photos, he doesn't stay put. He waits, silent and patient, learning who's looking, who's noticing. And eventually, he might step out of the frame. I guess that's the price of curiosity. Or maybe just a bad habit. Either way, if you check tonight, you might see him for the first time. And if you do, don't say I didn't warn you.